The Switch has no end to incredibly valuable games. Our last video covered some of the most expensive Switch games in my personal collection. The comments section was loaded with incredible suggestions and games I simply don't have. This week, we're going to look at some of the most expensive Switch titles, period. Again, this will not include collector's editions, but we have heard you, and that video will be coming later this week. Without further ado, let's get into 7 Switch games with extreme values. Samurai Showdown was released in 2019 across all platforms and the arcade by SNK. It is the 12th game in the Showdown series. Featuring 16 playable characters and many guest and DLC characters, the game offers a decent-sized roster to enjoy. The brutal, bloody finishing moves return in this entry. The game actually features an AI ghost that copies the moves and tendencies of the player, allowing for you to train against yourself and see weaknesses and openings you may have to work on to improve your game. For those of you unfamiliar with the series, it is one of the more intense fighting games, in which you can quickly lose control of the battle if not careful, as the combat is armed and can quickly end poorly. Imagine mixing King of Fighters, another lovely SNK franchise, with Bushido Blade. This seems to be one of those cases where the reason for the high price for the basic version of the game is simply a low print run for the console. I found numerous posts of people looking for it since its release, finding it out of stock and having to turn to resellers online to pick it up. To save 1780s Japan from the wrath of the spirits will cost you around $129, complete in box. Blossom Tales was released on Steam and Switch in 2017. Developed by Castle Pixel and released by FDG Entertainment, the game nearly didn't make it to shelves after a failed Kickstarter. Thankfully it did though, as it delivered a solid Legend of Zelda-like experience. You play as Lily, trying to stop the wicked Crocus, your uncle, who cursed your father the king with eternal sleep. It offers about 10 to 20 hours of gameplay, and I can personally vouch for its quality as we did stream it for our community a few days last fall. A sequel was released in 2022, Blossom Tales 2: The Minotaur Prince. The first game was released physically by Limited Run Games, and it will cost you about $140 complete in box to suit up as a Knight of the Rose. Skylanders Imaginators was released in 2016 and later in 2017 for the Nintendo Switch. It was the 6th release in the series. The game allows players to create their own Skylander for the first time. Various body part upgrades and styles could be found throughout the game to customize your character further. Crash Bandicoot and Neo Cortex guest star, with their own mechanics and level to enjoy. The game sold poorly compared to its predecessors, and this in part led to the hiatus of the series. The Switch version lacked compatibility with some prior sets, further hurting the reviews and sales for this version. A resultant low print run makes finding the full Switch starter set exceedingly rare. To join the fray with Spyro and friends will cost you around $153, complete in box. For fans of the series, Activision CEO Bobby Kotick recently stated Microsoft had interest in reviving some of their old franchises, such as Guitar Hero and Skylanders. Dust: An Elysian Tale was released for Xbox Live Arcade in 2012 on the Xbox 360. It was released on Windows, Linux, and PS4 in the following 2 years. It was announced for Switch at E3 2018 and released digitally that year. The game was nearly entirely created by Dean Dodrell, known for his work on Jazz Jackrabbit. The game is a Metroidvania-style action platformer that takes place in a world inhabited by anthropomorphic animals. Dust is the titular character, trying to remember his past, while wielding a sentient sword to fight the wicked General Gaius. The game hits some deep, dark story beats before a dramatic and heart-wrenching conclusion. The game was received very well with critics, and received numerous awards and significant praise. The game was originally developed for the Xbox Indie Channel, but upon winning Microsoft's Dream Build Play Challenge, was awarded a full release on the Xbox Live Arcade. I can remember playing an early demo of the game and absolutely loving it, so this is one I can personally vouch for. Interest remained high in the game, and Limited Run announced a physical shortly after the Switch digital announcement. As of 2014, the developer announced the game has sold more than 1 million copies across all platforms. To join the millions who have dabbled with Dust, will cost you about $157 for a complete in-box copy. Messenger was released in 2018 for the Switch and later for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. The game originated in 2008 as lead designer Terry Belanger wanted to create a game with a ninja as a protagonist. His original prototype was rejected by his employer, but he continued to work on it. He approached game producer Martin Broward, who actually quit his job to team up and open a studio with Belanger. The game features a unique mechanic where the game, halfway through, transforms from an 8-bit side-scroller to a 16-bit full-on Metroidvania. There are also other interesting mechanics, such as a treasure-stealing demon that replaces the traditional live system by reviving you, but then following you and taking your loot for time as a payment. The game was well received, especially the time-traveling genre shift halfway through the game. The score was made by famed chiptune master Rainbow Dragon Eyes and is near perfect. Fun fact, Sea of Stars is actually a prequel to this incredible title, though it adopted a turn-based RPG system. The game received 2 physical releases, one from Special Reserve and one from Limited Run Games. The Special Reserve copy will run you $200 complete in box, while the Limited Run variant goes for about $170 for a complete copy. In June 2021, Square Enix announced the release of the Ultimate Pixel Remasters of the first 6 Final Fantasy games as part of their summer showcase. These would be released on mobile and Steam. Later, in 2022, Square announced these games would be coming to the PS4 and Switch in a regular and collector's edition. The pre-orders went up in the middle of the night for the West, sending the internet into a frenzy over not just the strange hours of the pre-order window, which of course immediately sold out, but the prices and shipping for both versions. Many people outright refused to partake in the offer, while others tried but failed as the few available were swept up by other consumers. Both versions were immediately scalped for double and triple the price. The key here is that later on, PlayAsia released an Asian English version, making the game more widely available. The PS4 version was later cancelled, however, sending the price for the original PS4 release from Square skyrocketing. The Switch came down some, but still commands a hefty price tag. This version did not have an ESRB rating on the front of the game. As for the games, I don't need to tell you about Final Fantasy, simply the finest role-playing games available. These are great versions, beaten out only by the PSP releases with the extra content and quality of life changes. But to this day, to get the Square release of the Switch game with the ESRB rating on the cover will still cost you an astronomical $286 complete in box. The PS4 version will run you anywhere from $500 to upwards of $700 for a complete copy. Great collection piece, but take my advice. Get the Switch version without the ESRB. The cover looks nicer that way anyways. Shantae and the Pirate's Curse was released in 2014 for the 3DS and Wii U eShop. It's the 3rd game in the series. It would later be ported to all platforms. It was voted as one of Club Nintendo's fan-favorite games that year, and was nominated for both Best 3DS Game and Best Platformer by IGN. We rejoin Shantae after her exploits in Risky's Revenge, now without her genie powers. She has a bag full of pirate tools to use to her advantage this time around. She forms an unlikely partnership with Risky Boots, fighting the evil pirate master who has now been revived. The game was received well, with reviewers applauding the slick platforming, new tools, and the cute, colorful sprites and world. Limited Run once again makes an appearance, releasing limited numbers of the title physically for PS4 and Switch, which both sold out in a matter of minutes. The game has risen to insane prices for the Switch physical, with most collectors desiring the Holy Grail in their collection. The Switch version of the game currently will plunder around $309 from your treasure coffers for a complete in-box copy. Well, that about wraps up our list of the most expensive non-collector's edition Switch titles available physically. Share your thoughts on these games, your collections, and your wisdom in the comments. We got a ton of great feedback and learned a lot from all of you in the comment section last video. Do you like what we're doing here? Please consider subscribing and sharing. We are so close to 1,000 subs. As always, thank you for watching. And remember, stay creepy.